The restaurant went silent when the billionaire pushed the plate away and walked out. Everyone had expected the usual scene. A wealthy man in an expensive suit, a luxurious dinner, and a generous tip left behind for the waiter who had served him all night. But when Daniel, a 38-year-old single father, picked up the receipt folder, his heart sank. Tip. $0. For a moment, he just stared at the number. Around him, the other employees whispered. Some laughed quietly, others looked at him with pity. Maybe he thought you did something wrong, one coworker said. Daniel forced a smile, but inside, he felt a familiar pain. It was the same feeling he carried every day, the feeling of being judged before anyone knew his story. For years, Daniel had worked 2 jobs to support his 8-year-old daughter, Mia. Every morning, he prepared her breakfast before school. Every afternoon, he worked deliveries. Every evening, he put on his old black uniform and served customers at the city's most expensive restaurant. The customers saw a waiter. They didn't see the father who skipped meals so his daughter could eat. They didn't see the man who repaired his broken car with borrowed tools. They didn't see the person who kept going even when life gave him every reason to quit. That night, the restaurant welcomed one of its most famous guests, billionaire businessman Alexander Reed. Everyone knew his name. His companies were worth billions. His face appeared in magazines. People said he could buy anything he wanted. When Alexander entered the restaurant, every employee became nervous. Daniel was assigned to his table. At first, the billionaire seemed cold and distant. He barely spoke. He ordered a simple meal and spent most of the evening looking at old documents inside a worn leather folder. But Daniel noticed something. The man wasn't acting arrogant. He looked tired. When Daniel served the food, Alexander accidentally dropped his fork. Daniel quickly replaced it without complaint. Later, when the billionaire spilled water near the table, Daniel cleaned it immediately. "I'm sorry," Alexander quietly said. Daniel looked surprised. Most wealthy customers never apologized. "It's okay, sir. It happens," Daniel replied. The billionaire looked at him carefully. "You have a lot of patience," Alexander said. Daniel smiled. "You learn patience when life doesn't give you many choices." Those words stayed with Alexander. After dinner, he signed the bill and left. Daniel thought that was the end. Until he saw the $0 tip. The other waiters assumed the worst. He has billions and left nothing. People like that don't care about workers. Daniel said nothing. He simply picked up the plates and continued working. But when he lifted the empty plate from Alexander's table, something slipped onto the floor. A small folded piece of paper. His name was written on the front. Daniel froze. Slowly, he opened it. Inside were only a few sentences. "Daniel, I know everyone will think I forgot the tip. They are wrong." His hands began shaking. The note continued. 20 years ago, I was exactly where you are now. I was a struggling father working nights in a restaurant. One waiter treated me with kindness when nobody else did. That moment changed my life." Daniel looked back toward the restaurant entrance. But Alexander was already gone. The note continued. "I watched how you treated people tonight. You didn't know who I was. You didn't treat me differently because of my money. You treated me like a human being." Then came the sentence that changed Daniel's life forever. "Under this plate is not a tip. It is an opportunity." Daniel lifted the plate again. Underneath was a second envelope. Inside was a letter, offering him a management position at one of Alexander Reed's restaurant companies, along with a scholarship fund for Mia's education. Daniel couldn't speak. The same people who had judged him moments earlier stood in silence. The $0 tip wasn't an insult. It was a test. Months later, Daniel was no longer working double shifts just to survive. He became a restaurant manager, helping other employees who were struggling just like he once had. But the biggest change came at home. For the first time in years, Mia saw her father come home before she went to sleep. One evening, she asked him, "Dad, why did that rich man help us?" Daniel smiled, because he remembered what it felt like when someone helped him. Years later, Daniel still kept the original note inside his wallet. Not because of the money. Not because of the job. But because it reminded him of one powerful truth. Sometimes the people who seem invisible are the ones carrying the greatest stories. And sometimes a person's greatest reward doesn't come from what is placed on top of a plate. It comes from what was hidden underneath.